Amelia's movements were considerably more fluid. "Excellent," said Liebermann. "Now, if you lean back a little, we will be able to go faster." Amelia did as she was instructed, and they began to revolve more rapidly. "I believe," continued Liebermann, "that the optimal speed of the Viennese waltz is said to be approximately 30 revolutions per minute." He saw Amelia glance at his exposed wristwatch. "However, I do not think it will be necessary for us to gauge our performance against this nominal ideal." As they swung by the orchestra, they were overtaken by a portly couple, who, in spite of their ample physiques, danced with a nimbleness and grace that seemed to defy gravity. "Good heavens!" said Amelia, unable to conceal her amazement. "Is that Inspector Rheinhardt?" "It is," said Liebermann, raising an eyebrow. "He and his wife are very accomplished." "They are indeed," said Liebermann. "However, it is my understanding that Inspector Rheinhardt and his wife are more practised than most. During Fasching, not only do they attend this, the detectives' ball, but they are also regular patrons of the waiters' ball, the hatmakers' ball, the Philharmonic ball, and, as one would expect," Liebermann smiled mischievously, "the good inspector has a particular fondness for the pastry-maker's ball." As they wheeled past a pair of carved gilt double doors, Liebermann saw a police constable enter the ballroom. His plain blue uniform and spiked helmet made him conspicuous among the elegant tailcoats and gowns. His cheeks were flushed, and he looked as though he had been running. The young man marched directly over to Commissioner Bruegel, who was standing next to the impeccably dressed Inspector Victor von Bülow, and a party of guests from the Hungarian Security Office. Earlier in the evening, Liebermann had tried to engage the Hungarians in some polite conversation, but had found them rather laconic. He had ascribed their reserve to Magyar melancholy, a medical peculiarity with which he and most of his colleagues in Vienna were well acquainted. Liebermann lost sight of the group as Amelia and he continued their circumnavigation of the ballroom. When they had completed another circuit, he was surprised to see Elsa Rheinhardt standing on her own and looking towards her husband, who was now talking to Commissioner Bruegel and the breathless young constable. Liebermann's observation coincided with the brassy fanfares that brought the waltz to its clamorous conclusion. The revellers cheered and applauded the orchestra. Liebermann bowed, pressed Amelia's fingers to his lips, and taking her hand, led her towards Elsa Rheinhardt. "I think something's happened," said Elsa. Manfred Bruegel was a stocky man with a large blockish head and oversized mutton-chop whiskers. He was addressing Rheinhardt while occasionally questioning the young constable. Rheinhardt was listening intently. In due course, Rheinhardt clicked his heels and turned to find his wife and friends. "My dear," said Rheinhardt, affectionately squeezing Elsa's arm, "I am so very sorry, but there has been an incident." He glanced briefly at Liebermann, tacitly communicating that the matter was serious. "I am afraid I must leave at once." "Isn't there anyone on duty at Schottenring?" asked Elsa. "Kolczynski has developed a bronchial illness, and Stoffer, on being informed of the said incident, rushed from the station, slipped on some ice, and cracked his head on the pavement." "What extraordinary bad luck," said Liebermann. "Why is it always you?" said Elsa. "Can't somebody else go? What about von Bülow?" "I believe he has some important business to discuss with our Hungarian friends." The air suddenly filled with the shimmering of tremolando violins, against which two French horns climbed a simple major triad. Nothing in the whole of music was so artless, yet so distinctive. "Ah," said Rheinhardt, "what a shame. The blue Danube." He looked at his wife, and his eyes filled with regret. "Oskar," said Liebermann, "can I be of any assistance? Would you like me to come with you?" Rheinhardt shook his head.